I'd like to call this meeting to order. Good evening, everyone. Would someone move item 1.02, please? Are there any additions or corrections?
Yes, there are. On the agenda for Resolution 6.06 to appoint teachers, we added the three names Shannon Gratch, Tori Zaran, and Christy DeSantis. On Resolution 6.07, appoint replacement teachers, added Georgia Liberti, Paige Noel, and Aaron Welling. And on Resolution 6.13, appoint custodial and maintenance employees, probation period was changed from 52 weeks to 12 weeks. Those are the changes.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed and abstentions? Passed 6-0. I need to share with you our evacuation procedure. In the event of an emergency, we ask that you leave through the door back there or the door over here, and please do so in a calm and orderly fashion so that we all get out safely. Would you now join us in the pledge to our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This brings us to the public forum portion of our meeting, and the first person signed up this evening is Chuck Somerville.
Good evening, all. This is the first time I've been here.
Chuck, is it on there for you? Is it orange?
I think so. I tried it earlier.
Great, and if you talk right into it, everybody
Okay.
in the world will hear you, sir.
All right. Well, I normally
Thank
don't
you.
have that problem. I normally can broadcast well enough without the microphone.
All
but
right,
it's there to
thank you,
help.
sir.
I'm not sure exactly what the forum is for this, because it's the first time I've been here. I guess one of the main questions that I have to start with is, I understand that our most recently newly appointed governor now has made the mask a mandate.
Yes.
And I guess it becomes a question as to what options the school has about the mandate, because obviously any of you who have watched any of the network television programs and stuff realize that nationally there's an awful lot of objections to the mask, and a lot of parents and groups are very much opposed to it. And even our illustrious leader of the CDC can't seem to decide how many masks you should wear and when you should wear them and when you shouldn't wear them. And I guess what options do we have as, in my case, a grandparent with the concern and health of my own grandchildren and children's well-being, what options we have that we could address to the school board? That's one of the main questions. I don't know how we proceed with a question or an answer to that. The other part of the question deals with the curriculum. And again, following that same scenario, I've not heard of any of this regarding Fulton school system, but there's an awful lot of conversation, again, nationally about things like critical race theory and the 1619 project. And I really want to know where Fulton School District stands on these issues, because those are things that I think are critical of what our kids are being taught and what the school district's direction is on that, how you're instructing your teachers, how you're monitoring your teachers. I know that last year, my grandson, who was going to school here, had an English teacher that was actually forcing them to respond to some areas and things that to me were very controversial. And what's that?
1 minute left.
Okay. Okay, so I guess the other question that comes into play is to be about the scheduling, because we're going to go back to the full class schedule this year. And because of these masks, and anybody who knows about masks or what you've maybe seen about them, there's a real health issue, I think, long-term about wearing these masks and what they can do relevant to the fact that the mask, in fact, has some breathing issues and talking issues. And I don't know how teachers can ever teach when they got to wear a mask, and how well kids can do to have them there. But the scenario of the mask itself is going to hold moisture into it and all kinds of bacteria. And when we expect our kids to go all day long with these masks on, what it's going to do to their long-term health and what we as a school board or parents are prepared to deal with that issue going forward. And I guess the last very bit of that, which kind of follows that also, comes along with the situation with the vaccination and where our school district stands on whether it's going to be mandatory or not. And if it does, if there's a plan about what you're going to do when all the teachers and staff administrators who object to having the vaccination decide to leave, and what your plan is to address those issues.
Time's up. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Mr. Polvino, typically, the board turns over the questions to the superintendent, and he will respond to those questions. I don't have your phone number. Do you have it, or do we need to get it?
I'll get it after. Are you
Okay.
staying for
I
the
don't know
meeting?
how you want to
Or
do
you can
that.
just drive down to the end of the street. I live in the house right in the corner.
I've been known to do that, so if you're okay with that.
Let me know, we'll go pot of coffee on it.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right, next up is Samantha Kriego.
Before my time starts, I just want to say I really appreciate the opportunity that you've given all of us to do this.
Yep,
Thank you so
absolutely.
much for your patience.
Yeah. I remind everybody, I guess, out in the public, when they're listening, they actually can't hear us if we don't talk right into
Yeah.
them. So
Yeah.
I want them to hear
Okay.
you loud and proud, so.
Okay. It's about the mask mandates. I've looked everywhere on the CDC websites for specific research statistics and data that have conducted for mask safety and effectiveness for children 12 and under and could not find anything. So then I called the CDC and asked if they could send me this information. The representative stated that they cannot answer complex questions and could not provide that type of information to me at that time. They did email me the statistics on adult masking, which is already widely available to the public, but still nothing on children 12 and under. I also did ask the CDC, the New York State Health Department, and the Oswego Health Department how these mandates work when they get to the school district's level. They all did tell me that the recommendation is the school district's decision at that point whether or not to implement them. I don't understand how these strong recommendations for masking kids 12 and under become a strict rule in our schools when the CDC and the schools themselves don't have any studies or data that shows masks for this specific age group are safe and effective. I don't understand how it is illegal for schools to deny an education to children who don't comply with the mask rule when the CDC and the school district don't have any studies or data showing that masks are safe and effective for this age group, especially for the children like my son who have asthma, specifically exercise and heat-induced asthma, and they're forced to run around in masks in gym class. Aside from that, though, there's no legitimate studies and research to support mask safety and effectiveness. The American Academy of Pediatrics has already done studies showing that children are inefficient transmitters to the virus. They've also provided studies that there are little to no hospitalizations or deaths for children with that specific age group. Also, furthermore, Dr. Marty McCary, a researcher and professor of the public health policy at Johns Hopkins, has also conducted many studies proving that that specific age group are inefficient transmitters, along with the negative health effects of masking children. All of these studies mentioned above were supported and funded by the National Institute of Health. It's hard to hear when schools state that they're obligated by the CDC guidelines because, as I said, the CDC, the New York State Health Department, and the local health department have all stated that these are recommendations, and then as the school district gets them, it's up to them.
1
It's
minute.
their option. The masking of my 6-year-old child who has asthma, more specifically, again, the heat-induced and exercise-induced, who already had COVID and now has a natural immunity, should not be the decision of the school district, but more myself and his father. I respectively ask for the Fulton City School District for reconsideration of mask mandates for children, considering there is no studies, research, or data that the CDC or the district can provide for the opinions that they have. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up, we have Tracy Dingman.
So I have an unusual situation here. I'm reading a letter for a friend. This was written by Sarah Fay. She was unable to make the meeting today. So she has given me the letter. It's all of her own thoughts, all of her own words, and her experiences. Dear school board members, I am writing this letter as a concerned grandparent, parent, and former teacher in the Fulton City School District. I am unfortunately out of town this week and cannot attend, but felt I wanted to reach out to express my concern over the growing number of parents trying to overturn the mask mandate vote for our school district. I'm in favor of the mask mandate for one reason. Masks save lives. The science and the professionals have more than proven their point on this. Over and over again, we want our children to return to school safely. Then we must follow what some are calling extreme measures to do so. I am all for following extreme measures if it saves even one life. I often hear the word choice in some arguments against the mask mandate. As parents, you may choose what your child will eat, what they will wear, what route they will take to get to school. These are choices. This is a communicable disease we are talking about, a choice you make that will affect other children's health. That is when choice becomes a false argument, when it affects others. I spent 1 year teaching from home and juggling schedules for 4 grandchildren and know firsthand how this was not a healthy environment for many. I would also like to add that during that year, I transported my grandchildren and other children to and from school daily. I never heard once from any of them a complaint about them wearing their mask. I don't want our schools to return to virtual learning. It is not healthy for our students' state of mind, not to mention frustrating for our parents, teachers, and our grandparents. It also puts our students behind academically. But this is what will happen if we are careless in our decision. If we don't mask up, we run the risk that the one student sitting next to our child will come from an unvaccinated home and will carry the COVID variant. It only takes one, and then the spread begins. Are we really willing to sacrifice a school day wearing masks over another year of virtual classes and no sports? Please continue to make great decisions for our students and staff, and please keep in mind, all votes and decisions will not please everyone. But some decisions will save lives. I wholeheartedly support your vote for the mask mandate for our district. Thank you for your time. Signed, Sarah Fay.
Thank you. Next up, Sarah Van Patten.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Sarah, I need to ask you to put your mask up.
Okay, I am pregnant, so if I get too hot, I'm going to take it down.
Okay,
So,
you can take a mask break, yep.
okay. So in Oswego County alone, this is on the school mask mandates. The evidence points to a death rate of 0.079%, according to the population of Oswego County of 117 plus thousand citizens. I just looked at the data today, so this is slightly wrong from last week, but 94 confirmed COVID-related deaths. 94 in 18 months is 1.1% of the active cases diagnosed. We have to take that the survival rate of 95 to 99.99% in the general population has to be taken into consideration. Our world, we have enough data after 18 months to end this now. The virus is behaving much like any other virus that has entered the world. Our world will not be without sickness or death or pain. And to infer that we can play God and control life and death by the hands of an elect few is a dangerous precedent. The school mask mandates are one of the many examples of unnecessary restriction to the residents of Oswego County. Children are the least at risk of hospitalization or death from COVID-19, and they need to be breathing fresh air. Masks are a medical device, and if you're not a medical professional, we should not be harassed, bullied, or stalked. Implied consent is not informed consent. This needs to be parental choice. Children and youth are at virtually no risk of dying from COVID-19 or transmitting it to others, but the deaths and injuries to children and youth have already occurred in the COVID-19 injection clinical trials. Children have already been exposed to unprecedented amounts of fear, instability, shaming, psychological trauma, and segregation through these COVID-19 measures, and are therefore even more suggestible than their developmental stage would usually entail. It is the job of parents or legal guardians, not of principals, teachers, teacher assistants, school board executives, or other adults with influence on children to make medical decisions for them. I do not base my
3 minutes.
decisions in fear-mongering propaganda or by people who are not in charge of my individual and my family's health. Remove yourself from my medical care, my family's medical care, by taking a stand against medical coercion and forced mandates now. I do not consent. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. And so I would ask all the speakers, Mr. Somerville, you made an invite, but if you'd like to leave your phone numbers, I'm going to put this up here. If you'd leave your phone numbers, it would facilitate Superintendent getting back to you with your response. So I'll leave it here and take care of that. Thank you. And thank you so much for the civil work that we had tonight. I appreciate that very much. All right. Would someone move item 1.06, please? Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Pass 600. Are there any questions regarding the upcoming committee meetings and Board of Education meetings in September? All right. I'm going to turn the meeting over now to Superintendent Polvino.
Thank you, and good evening. And good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming this evening and sharing. And I will reach out to each one of you. This evening, I'd like to start with the school readiness. One, I'd like to start by saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Geithner, I believe we had, how many this morning? 47? For some reason, 47 is in my head. We had 47 new teachers, support staff, teaching assistants that came to today's event, which was our new teacher orientation this morning. It was exciting as they were here with their mentors, so it was quite a morning here, and especially to see that much new enthusiasm and energy and knowledge and experiences coming to our district. I'm looking forward to meeting all of them, and I'm looking forward to all of you hearing about all the new things, and maybe your kids or relatives may have them in classes down the road here, but it was an exciting bunch and of a new group of educators joining our district. So it was a great way to start our day today. And anything you'd add to that, Ms. Geithner, or is that?
Add that they were a very enthusiastic group of people with a wide variety of different experiences. And I also want to thank our veteran teachers and staff who volunteered and agreed to be mentors to this new group of teachers and student support staff as they navigate being new to our district and some of them new to the profession. So our administrators did a great job of recruiting and interviewing, and the other staff members who volunteered to be on those committees really did a great job in preparing us for this year.
The other thing that I'd like to point out, and Ms. Geithner did it before I was going to do it this morning, was the number of former Fulton graduates that stood up this morning when asked to do so. It was, what, a quarter of the room? Probably a quarter of the room between our mentors, our veteran teachers, and the new teachers. It was amazing to see. They're coming back home to educate our kids, so I was very impressed. So I wanted to share that. Our readiness visitations are Wednesday, September 1st, so next Wednesday evening. We'll start promptly at 5 p.m. We'll start at Volney, and then we will go to Lanigan, and then GRB, so we'll start at Volney. If you're running late or something, just text me or call me. My number, I think you all have it. If not, we'll make sure you have that. And we'll get started. Volney's looking absolutely amazing. If you haven't driven by, it's all painted up and looking pretty sharp. So excited about to show you a lot of the work that's been going on, as well as all of the work going on in those schools. And then on the next evening, on the 2nd, we will start at the Fulton Junior High School, then Granby, then Fairgrave, and then we'll get to go over and see the Education Center. We will start at the Fulton Junior High School, and they were actually putting the final coat on things today, the top coat, and laying the last lengths of cement as well. So doors were being done, just an amazing things going on in all of our schools. So I look forward to sharing those things. As far as, so are there any questions about the school readiness? Very good. We seem to be on our final stretch, looking good. We seem to be on a good pace, so hopefully we'll keep that way over the next week. Finance year-end summary. If Kathy, Ms. Nichols, and Mr. Lisi, if you could just provide a brief update of where we're at this point. I know we're in the audit process. We're drawing to closure, but I just wanted an update, please.
We do not yet have a draft audit. The field work is complete on the audit work, and I did speak to our audit firm today, and they'll be getting something to us in the next couple of weeks. So just to give you an idea of where we are with the 2021 audit, we underspent our budget, as we've discussed before, primarily due to our self-funded health care having a better year, so that we ended up 1.5 million under budget for that. The rest of the, we were under in other areas. We were pretty fiscally conservative this year with everything that was going on. We had put a spending slowdown in place back in February. So when you look across the budget, there's a lot of areas where you can just see that we were much more thoughtful and careful in our spending, whether it was supplies or, for example, instead of buying 3 truckloads of copy paper, I bought half a truckload, you know, and we seem to make do with that. So so I think just overall, it's lent itself to underspending our budget. And then on the revenue side, because if you remember last year, where the governor said he would be withholding 20% of our state aid, we did have withheld about $700,000 in aid that actually belonged to the 1920 school year. So although it was happening last fall, we booked it back into the prior year because our audit was not yet closed for the prior year. So when those funds came in, actually materialized this year, we had to book it as current year revenue. So that was a $700,000 swing just due to timing. So but it makes it look like we have so much more surplus as a result. So we'll have more information, or if you have any questions, we'll have more information in the coming weeks.
We've asked Mike to give us an update with respect to when that draft will be done, then we'll get an audit committee scheduled as soon as we can. So we're getting a tentative timeline from him because I want to get the audit committee on the books.
Everyone might not know who Mike is.
Oh, I am sorry, the audit, Mr. DeBot's from the audit firm that does our auditing. I'm sorry. Should be clearer than that. So yeah, so
That's what we're
the good
doing.
news is we're in good shape, and I think one of the things that's an anomaly, our healthcare being at 90% of budget. I mean, we've done an excellent job here. I think in the number of years that I've been here, we've been very consistently under, but we also had one year where it was much higher, and that then balances the premiums, and Ms. Geithner and her team, along with Ms. Nichols and her team, set those rates and whatnot. So this was a good year for us, and again, you hope you have those back-to-back, but with healthcare, you never know. Nationally, that tends to be an 8 to 10%, 8 to 9%. For us, we've been blessed this year, and that's allowing us to do some things, and we're going to monitor things very closely, but cases can change. Anything you'd add to that, Ms. Geithner, or does that capture the essence? Okay, thank you. Any questions with respect to the finance or the auditing? So we'll get an audit committee on as soon as we hear from the audit firm when we may be getting one. I like to get it on the books so that we can have some discussion, so we can really take it in and make some decisions about where to place that money and where to place those monies.
And for the benefit of our new colleagues, the audit committee will receive the preliminary results, and then it will come to the entire board for the entire board to review.
Okay. The reopening update. This afternoon around 3 p.m., I'm not sure if everybody had the opportunity, but this afternoon our new governor had a press conference. I'm not sure if everybody had the opportunity. They were doing some things highlighting on the news this evening. But our reopening update has not changed from August 11th. However, this afternoon the new governor did say a couple of things, and those areas that she talked about, which she is going to work with and direct the New York State Department of Health, that there will be a universal mask mandate in all schools, pre-K through 12. And so waiting to see what that guidance looks like. There's also that we will be very clear that we're going to be getting guidance. She called it clear, concise, and uniform guidance that we should have received months ago, was her words actually today. And I appreciated that. That was guidance that we're attending. So we're looking forward, hopefully the latter part of this week, from that guidance from the Department of Health and the New York State and how that may come. What we will do with then is match up with what we have in place, make any adjustments. We will then convey that to our Board of Education. And then soon after that, we will convey an update to our staff and to our students with respect to that. I would imagine a piece of that guidance, which really was never adjusted, was the quarantining guidances, which is one of the concerns that I've had. Just recently, we had a situation where there was approximately 14 people in contact. I have right now 5 staff that are on quarantine, and meaning that they are staff that's helping prepare buildings get open. And so that's just a very small microcosm. And so we're really looking forward to this guidance, any adjustments, and we will work with that. I will, and I've done it right along. I'm very proud of the work that our staff and students accomplished last year. We were in more days of session than many districts larger than us. And I'm very proud of that, and I'm proud of the fact that we had kids in here from kindergarten, pre-K through 12th grade from day one. And there are districts out there in proximity to us that did not. So, and that happened because we made a commitment to cohorting. We made a commitment to masking. We really tried to follow all the rules. If there's anything we try to do here in Fulton, is we really try to toe the line, that center line, to do what's the best for our kids and for our staff and for our community. So I'm looking forward to this guidance from the governor to see once and for all what do we have to work with here, and then we'll move forward. There's also they're going to be exploring looking at vaccinations in schools with school personnel with the option of testing. That was something that she alluded to today as well. So there's a couple of different things that are out there. And I think there are different ramifications for those things as well, and effects and impacts on staffing. So there's a lot of things that we need to work through as we digest the information that comes out through the next couple of days and a couple of weeks. And we're 2 weeks out, just over 2 weeks out from today. We start tomorrow, 2 weeks from tomorrow with our kids. So we've got a lot to get done, and hopefully we can pull things together. So
I think
that's where
she
we're at.
also mentioned today that she has an expectation that the state health department is going to be more involved than they have been.
That is the impression that I
That
had.
was the impression I received.
But again, I thought she did a very good job in her first
I guess the only
post-conference,
reason
so.
I mentioned that
Yep.
is we don't know what's coming yet.
Correct.
If another organization
Mm-hmm.
entity becomes involved, it could mean changes there.
Sure.
Or not, I don't know.
Yep. So we will be taking information, just like we've been doing all summer, from the different medical professionals that are out there. And as all the speakers this evening, I've been trying to look at all different perspectives, and I truly understand and respect every person's perspective on this. From my seat, I look at 3,200, and you'll see the number right up there, just about 3,200 kids, a little over 640 staff or so, and all the families and people associated with them. They are indirectly, they're impacted by any decisions that we make as a school district. So I'm trying to make the best decision for the middle of the road to make sure that all of our kids are here each and every day. And my goal is, if we can get back to where we were in January of 20, our data was in a very unique and special place. And we were just about to go over the top with our literacy, and I want to get us back there as fast as we can, because that means our kids would be reading by the end of third grade, and that's what we need to be able to get to, and we need them here to do it. And then, obviously, a lot of our programs that are going on, we have amazing things going on pre-K through 12, and we need our kids in front of our teachers getting the best of the best of the best. And that's no critique to anybody else, but the best of the best here at Fulton. So, are there any questions? And as you know, I will get that out to you. As soon as we get things, you'll have it in your hands as well, so you can digest and have that information. UPK and the K-12 enrollment numbers. Mr. Wilson, can you pop those up there, please? Oh, can you put them up there, Mr. Carroll? Just one moment. So each year at this time of the year for the board, just to give you an idea, we like to give you an idea what our enrollments are at this point in time. So we pulled the figures together. Take me up to the top there. So what you're going to see is the district enrollment overview. Right now we have 120. It's a test. Pre-K total. So we have 126 seats in our pre-K. And right now we have 114 kids that are enrolled. We also have a few in the hopper where we have partial information. And so we're considering right now, we believe right now we can get to 126 very easily. This time of year is always the time of year we start to contemplate how many more kids are out there. So with the 10 that we got, that we're possibly aware of, plus the 7 that are still in the hopper, that adds 21 possibly. So we are strongly considering opening another pre-K class. We often do that. Right now, we have 7 classes. They're half day. There are 18 students in a class, to give you an idea of what that means. So that's something that we're strongly looking at. What we're doing is we're doing another blast out, just saying, hey, we're here. We're doing pre-K registrations. And we're going to take another look at this data this Friday. And then we're going to go from there. I think in all probability, we're leaning toward that direction. We recognize that our pre-K program, and the other piece that last year our numbers topped out at 114, but in part, I think that was due to the COVID situation where parents may have had some concerns about sending. We also didn't have transportation. When we ran transportation 2 years ago, we were running 152 kids. So we have shown that transportation makes a difference. Transportation is built in this year. So that's our pre-K. K-6, we're at 1616. Our junior high is at 518, and we'll share with you a little breakdown on the next page here. GRB, and I often look at 946 and say, wow, wait till you see the size of the 8th grade class coming a year from now with 265 kids. So just right now, this setup of classes, which you'll see in a moment, is at 946. So we have a pre-K 12 total of 3194 and a K-12 total of 3,080. So next slide, please. Sure. Yep, make sure you, yeah.
Do you know what the ratio is, teachers, students?
On the next slide, I can give you a little bit better idea. I think
Okay.
that'll help me here in a second. But yep, I'll give you that in a second. So on, let me turn on my next slide because I can't see that far. All right. So what we have, and this goes to your question, what you see here is at kindergarten. In 21-22, we have 5 sections. What we do is we break them into east side, west side. So you're looking at Fairgrave and Volney on the left. You're looking at Lanigan and Granby on the right. And as you said, you can see the 7 sections of pre-K. Those are half-day programs for pre-K. For our kindergarten, right now I'm a little bit concerned. We're at 181 kids total in kindergarten. However, if you look at the data over the last 4 weeks, literally 20 more each week. I don't know why that number, but we've added 80 kids, 20 kids literally a week for the last 4 weeks. So we're hoping for a little bit of a push over the top. I'm anticipating a 220, 225 number. That would be in keeping of kind of our numbers as of late.
Brian, can you share this? I can't read this from here. I hate to, it's probably me.
Can you?
Yep, Robin, I'm dropping it in right now into the
Thank
Word
you.
docs.
Yep. For our first grade, you'll see there are 5 sections on the east side. So we have 2 sections, just to remind the board, there are 2 sections at each grade level at Volney Elementary School, and we have 3 sections at Fairgrade. That's why you're seeing 5 sections at each grade level on the east side, and you're seeing 6 sections, 3 sections each at Lanigan and Granby on the west side. So it gives you, to the right there, Jess, or Ms. Papalardo, you'll see, to your question, we're averaging a class size 19 to 20 on the east side schools. And you're seeing a range of, and the 14 is an anomaly a little bit, as I think the kindergarten, let's not dwell on the kindergarten too much. I think those are going to push up. But you're going to see a range on the west side, anywhere between 18 and 22. So you're right around there. Always been a little bit larger on the west. But this goes actually, if you look at over the last 4 or 5 years, one year it's the east side, next year it's the west side. It kind of goes back and forth. Does that answer your question? Okay, great. Yeah, okay, thank you. And then the next slide, secondary enrollment. Mr. Capani, this year at the junior high, has 2 very large classes. He has a 265 in 7th grade. He has a 253 at 8th grade. There's 10 ungraded students, so they may be students in some of our specialized programs, for 518 kids. So there are 2 teams at each grade level, so we're running pretty full. Anywhere is right around that 25, 26 range. We have to remember this time of year, we also have kids that are transitioning to other school districts. We may have not gotten their requests yet, but those are a little bit higher numbers than we've had for the junior high in a while. These are 2 larger classes right now, so we're watching those very closely. I talked to Mr. Capani, probably Mr. Carroll and I, on a daily basis. We've been talking, he's been keeping a pretty good eye on this. I think we're okay at this moment in time for our junior high. And then at the high school, as you'll see right now, there are 3 grade levels that are relatively small compared to that 10th grade class, which was 278 kids riding at 10th grade right now. But we go from 219 in our senior class right now, 220 in our junior class, 278 in our 10th grade class, and 229 in our 9th, with a result of 946 kids. So it's one of our smaller whole numbers. But I think in a year when we're coming back and getting on our feet, this is actually a very good, strong number for us here. And looking forward to getting ourselves righted, because we've got some larger classes on the horizon as well. Any questions about those enrollment numbers?
I have just a question.
Sure.
I'm not sure what an average classroom looks like, but being a middle school teacher, I know that 25, 26 kids, it's a lot of kids.
Yep.
And coming off of such a crazy year last year, managing 25, 26 kids in a classroom with all different range of abilities, personalities, all of that stuff considered, do we have set numbers of like teachers, assistants in the classroom to help out? Is it consistent across the board? Like what does that look like?
So, Jerry, if you want to speak to, I can speak to the one here at the junior high. If we'll start there, I can speak to the junior high. I knew that Mr. Capani has placed, we have a teaching assistant assigned to each of the teams. So each of the teams has a full-time teaching assistant, and there are ways that he's utilized that. We've also really worked on setting up the rooms, looking at space as well. And then we also have aides. I'll let Jerry speak to a little bit about it. I don't know all the numbers, but if you want to speak to that, Jerry, it's a good question.
Not assigned to classrooms except in a special class situation or a special, am I not up?
I don't know if you're on, sorry.
I'm sorry about that. Can you hear me now? All right. Aides are typically not assigned to a classroom unless it's a special education need at the middle level, but we do have that scheduling format where students are also going out for special area classes and for academic intervention sections. So they're spread out across more than just the 4 core area classrooms on each team. So each team has 4 teachers, 1 in each of the core areas, plus a teaching assistant. And then we have art, music, family, consumer science, technology, and our academic intervention sections that also absorb some of those students.
So
each bell.
4 classrooms, 1 teaching assistant, and basically wherever that team of teachers feel that teaching assistant would make the most difference at that point.
Yep.
It just differs It could differ week by week, month by month.
And oftentimes they'll also be assigned to supporting specific small groups for specific interventions. the
Is there
teachers.
separate AIS teachers?
Yes.
It's not just that one teaching assistant being shared upon?
No, there are reading interventionists and math interventionists at the junior high also.
Per like grade level, for one for 7th, one for 8th? I just imagine those numbers are gonna be sort of high this year.
We have 3 reading interventionists and 2 math interventionists.
That's good. Thank you.
And you'll see a similar type of thing at elementary. And then at the high school, it's a little bit different. We can spread them in with the numbers a little bit lower there, a little bit more balanced. So the middle school is definitely the area where we're keeping a pretty strong look at what's going on there. And it's kind of, it's good because we're in that building, so I actually get to interact with Mr. Capani on a pretty daily basis. He's keeping us informed, so. Okay, and then on the final slide, just one that we wanted to share with you was the homeschool enrollment overview. Because some school districts are seeing a bit of an up and a down, but based on the numbers we're seeing, you can see we were really consistent, 18, 19, 19, 20, 21, 22, little high 2021, 2021. So we're back to right where you'd expect us to be at this point in time. There are some districts that are seeing a little bit of an increase in this area. Mr. Garrow, this is in your area. Is there anything you'd add to this?
Sure. It's just a number that nationally this year is going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on. Certainly, there are a lot of issues related to school and the pandemic, some of which are enough for families to choose homeschooling. So it'll be interesting. As Mr. Palvino pointed out, right now we're back to normal. But this is something that we'll want to watch as the months go by and potentially new mandates and protocols come into play.
Yep. So it's an area we're looking at. All the districts, as I've reached out, everybody's seeing a little bit of a pop here, but I was surprised ours was kind of flat at this point in time. But as Mr. Carroll pointed out, as things become clearer for our families and as they have to make decisions for themselves and their children, it'll be interesting to see where this number lies and where it rides.
Brian?
So, yes.
To Jen's question, do we have anything in place in case we're going to need to up junior high? I mean,
As far as, when you mean help, as far as supports, what we would do is if we see those numbers increase, what I would say is we would look at, obviously our American Rescue Plan funds go over 4 years, so we have an ability to move that anywhere. If we needed to reach out, if we had staffing issues, and obviously that's an area that we can always look at if we needed to increase any needs or staffing. So that's one of the things that we always do with all of our principals, is really to get a very good idea of what the needs are. And if we have a situation where we need to add supports, we can do so if necessary, as far as additional staffing, things like that.
okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions with respect to the enrollment? Just to give you an idea, I believe, and I don't have it on the bottom of that sheet that I sent you, Dan, was our beds number 3149 the year before? 3249? So the beds number is the number from pre-K-12 that they actually base all your funding and things on. So in October, like the first Wednesday in October of 2020, our number was 3249, pre-K through 12. That's what drives your funding. So right now, if we were looking at those figures, I have to look back here, I'm sorry. Right now, we'd be looking at 3194. And if you remember, I've spoke before, we seem to reduce about 50 students per year. So, what? Oh, it's kindergarten. Right, so kindergarten's not that, so I want to just point that out, that we've had a trend over the last the 5 to 6 years. You'll actually see if you go back to, and I wish I had my wonderful slide, I think I have a slide that goes back during budget time, goes back to like 2010, and it'll show we had almost 800 more students in this district going back. And that's a phenomenon in this county. This county, about 9 years ago, had about 26,000 kids. In the most recent, which was about a year ago, we were just dropping below 20,000. So we've lost about over 7,000 students in the county. Our numbers, if you look at that over time, we've been averaging losing about 50 a year. But as Mr. Carroll pointed out, this year, that kindergarten number, we don't normally have that low a kindergarten number. Normally it creeps up more towards 200 right now. So we're a little bit low right now. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the coming weeks as that number. But if we do what we've been doing on a weekly basis, I think we're going to get 40 to 50 more. And where's that put us? Puts us right at the 225, right about where I think we should be. That would be our trend. That would be very consistent. And that would bring that overall number up. So that would be good news because we wouldn't lose our traditional 50 that we seem to be doing. So I just wanted to draw that because that does impact funding. You know, whether it's title funding, whether it's state aid funding, but it's our enrollment that has been going down. And I believe that as we strengthen offering all the different programmings and the opportunities, and from pre-K with all of our literacy work right up through our offerings in our high school, I believe that people will choose to come here. I truly believe that if we offer the range of that opportunity for kids, that's what's going to bring families to our community as well. So, any questions with respect to the enrollment? Okay, thank you. Capital project, if you could put the slide up there. Could you have that one, Dan, or can I?
It's in board docs.
It's in board docs. All right, let me pull that up for you.
Are you looking at the EPC?
Yes, we're
Yes.
going to look at the EPC project, and you're going to put it up there as well, Tim, right, for the community. They'll have theirs, and we'll get ours on the screen in here. So this is exciting news. I often have been talking a lot about the capital project, and I just want to extend to this board and to our community the ratification a couple of years ago with respect to this capital project. You just need to drive by our schools, especially Volney and Lanigan and the junior high, and you will see the beginnings of some amazing work. And on next week, when you see the complex, the lights, the brand new LED lights are now up and working at the stadium. They were lit this morning. Every one of them was working, so I look forward to seeing what they're going to look like when it's actually dark and the impact they're going to have. You're going to see all the poles, all the bases went in across the complex over the last 2 days, so there'll be lighting all the way across the complex, all the way to the junior high, so now it'll be much safer. So that'll be a great opportunity. So things like that. So I'm going to run through this, but these are some of the things on the energy performance contract, and that we haven't talked a lot about. But this is one where we've averaged a lot of savings over the years with previous projects. So this just gives you an idea of the things that are completed. So when you look, and when you're walking through the hallways for tonight after the meeting, just look up, and you will see there's brand new lighting in every hallway, in every classroom. So it's substantially complete at GRB. The junior high has been substantially complete. We're talking every fixture in the buildings have been changed out. Fairgrave, they were getting started. I was over there just today, so they're getting going. Lanigan, Granby, and Volney are on the docket, and this is only about 6 months into this project. So we've really made great headway. So we're doing great work in that area. It's not exciting, it's not, but it's stuff that will make big impacts not only in the classrooms and the lighting, but also fiscally. We save a lot of money through these projects. So oftentimes we end up in the end actually making money on a $4 million project just through our energy performance. And you'll get presentations from Siemens generally in the middle of the year each year. The stadium and the tennis court lighting the completion was this week for the stadium. The tennis court lighting will start next week. I mentioned the walkways being done. The envelope, the zero draft, what is that? That's basically when we go around and we seal up everything on our windows and our doors, and we make sure that there's no drafts going on in our homes. It's called the envelope of your building or your room. It's basically sealing up everything, make it tight, make it weather efficient. So that's what that's about. And Siemens is actually at that process, that's all the schools are 95% done. And they're getting ready to do the client punch list. So in other words, they're in the final stretch of that work. So that's great work to have done. The HVAC controls are well underway. We're installing new field instrumentation here at the senior high. Controllers, the junior high, more instrumentation, electrical pieces there. Again, I'm not going to read all those, but you see we're about 70% in each of those areas. So that's exciting. We're getting that work done. My understanding is they fired up the boilers this morning at Volney. They're working, so we put brand new boilers. If you remember, we were down to one, so now we're up to capacity with that. So everything is done there, 90% done. As I said, they fired them up this morning. Everything works, so they'll be tweaking things up and finalizing that project. At the junior high, the unit's installed. We did not have a backup. We literally were running on one, and so Siemens figured out a way to get the backup boiler. So we have a brand new backup boiler at the junior high, so now I don't worry if one goes down, we'd be out. So that's great news. So that's they're working on the ductwork and the electrical. So that's up. Steam traps, those are all being done. The 95% Fairgrave, Lanigan, the Ed Center. So those are our STEAM buildings predominantly. So that's all helps us with our efficiency. So it's not exciting work, but you can see a lot's being done in our building. The pool cover at Granby, it's beautiful. It's there. It's all working, ready to go. And the new heating element is on its way here for the pool. If you remember, our heater went down at the Granby pool, although somehow it's been maintained at 76 to 77, 78 degrees all summer, so it's been used. Our kids were in it as part of our summer programs, and I know our community's been using that pool as well, so that's great news. The cooling tower upgrade at the junior high, materials ordered, delivered, and as soon as the cooling season is over, and it appears to get a little warmer this week, but as we get into late September, early October, when the weather turns, that's when they'll do that work on that tower and get it ready. And then finally, and hopefully next week we can take a tour in there, the GRB auditorium lighting and the carpet. The carpeting is in, the lighting on the floor is in, and then we made some adjustments on the house lighting, so those aren't in yet, but that was the idea behind that, is that actually eventually we're going to work on the stage lighting as well. And so we made an adjustment to the house lighting, which will make it more in keeping with the work that we want to do with the stage. So I wanted to highlight that. We haven't talked about this really much at all. But it's a project that keeps on giving for the next 18 years. These are 18-year energy performance contracts. So it's just, we hadn't really talked about it, and there's a lot going on in our schools when you start to add this up. So something's happened at every one of our buildings this summer. So I just wanted to draw everybody's attention to that, and thank you for your support of our EPC projects and our capital projects. They truly are what keep our buildings going over time. Are any questions? And then finally, the safety patroller officer, our MOU has currently been reviewed by our attorneys. However, it is now with the city of Fulton. So it will not be going as a resolution this evening. However, we may want to, I've talked to the chief, we want to have our officer start on the 2nd. We may want to add a special board meeting. I'm looking to get their feedback. There really wasn't much, but they wanted their attorneys to look at it as well. So that's the process we're in right now. It's just a question of logistics, and then we'll go from there. We've hired the person, but I'm not ready to, I just want to make sure that we have our MOU and everything in place, but I don't think there's any issues, but when one attorney looks at it, the other attorney wants to look at it. So that's the process they're going through right now. And that's the conclusion of the superintendent's report. And I look forward to sharing a walk through the buildings next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Would someone move item 4.01?
Second.
Discussion? Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And abstentions? Passed 600. Item 4.02. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passed 600. Item 4.03.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passed 600. Item 4.04. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passed 600. Item 4.05. Any discussion? This is a roll call vote. Mrs. Perry, if you do the honors.
Mrs. Lyons.
Yes.
Mrs. Papalardo. Mrs. Elbegor.
Yes.
Mr. Crandall. excuse me, Mrs. Mainville,
Yes.
and Mrs. Griffin.
Yes. Thank you, Mrs. Perry.
And Robin, that needs a signature.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 4.06. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passed 600. Item 4.07. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passed 600. Item 5.01.
Move it.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passed 600. I'm wondering if my colleagues would like to batch items 6.01 through 6.10. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passed 600. Item 6.11, please.
Move it. Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Pass 501. Item 6.12, please. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Pass 600. Item 6.13.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Pass 600. Item 6.14.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Pass 501. Item 6.15. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Pass 600. Item 6.16. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Pass 600. Item 6.17. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Pass 600. This brings us to the board forum. Mrs. Abelgore, would you like to start this evening?
I'm so sorry, I'm never going to get used to this. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. First, I'd like to thank all the parents and grandparents who came in this evening to speak with us. I appreciate their voices. It's not an easy topic. We all are definitely thinking about what's best for our children, our grandchildren. I know that our district is always putting the safety and health concerns at the top of the list for our students, and I just hope that, you know, I'm not loud enough?
Nope.
Brenda Abelgore's not loud enough? Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Okay. So I just hope that we can stay in constant communication with all of our community members, parents, along with Brian, for what's best for our kids. I'm super excited about the school readiness walkthrough. It's always exciting to see all of the cool things that are in place for our kids and how shiny those buildings look, and to be able to have all of our kids come back this year. It's just exciting. I'm always more excited about our district opening up than the district I'm working in, but it's just great things going on here. It's so very exciting. I don't know if anyone had the opportunity on August 17th. There was the school indoor air quality webinar that was put on by the New York State and the Department of Health. Brian, I just have a couple questions because I don't want to assume anything. But are we all set with our air quality and how, I mean, I know you did some things last year, maybe, because they were talking an awful lot about the way the air moves through and the possible movement of air through for those who might be sick, not using fans in the classroom, which windows can be open, making sure that nurses' offices are not sharing the same air venting circulation systems as the other classrooms. Is that something that
we're on top of. Do we need to look into any of those areas? And I don't know if you got a chance to listen into that last week.
I did not watch that. However, what we do, we have all of our filters were upgraded to 9s last year. What does that mean? Normally, the state requirements are 8A or 8B. We are at 9s. In other words, it's the largest filter that you can put into something without hurting the equipment, or 13s. So we have maximized in everywhere we could go, all of our filtration systems. We've also made sure that we have a regular schedule for changing all filters, and so there's a maintenance schedule now that's in place. The other thing that we're doing is in some of the capital project work, when we pulled the reins back, if you remember last summer, or last winter, we pulled it back, we redid some of the work in the focus areas. We're looking at the air handlers in all of those buildings, or all the buildings. We're taking a look at the work that can be done with our HVAC systems. You heard me talk about some of the HVAC work this evening. We're dealing with older buildings, so one of the things that we continue to look at is, are there ways to look at windows in buildings, things like that, do we look at some of that work as part of our American Rescue Plan? The biggest challenge is that the work in some of these places is going to be 2 to 3 years out because of, one, lack of resources, but also the companies. There's just not enough people out there to do the work. So those are a couple of the things that we're looking at. Mr. Crump and his team, who is our Director of Facilities, continues to explore those. And oftentimes in our conversations at our capital project meetings, I know Robin's there, Tim's starting to come to those as well. We talk about all the work that's going on, and that's a good place to ask those questions too. As they're working, because King & King, who are architects, have been going through our buildings. We're also due, I believe, and if Al was here, I would ask him, but I believe it's within the year, we're due for our 5-year building inspections that we do. Those building reports that really done every 5 years, they drive our capital work. We are coming up on that date, and one of the areas of emphasis that we've asked them to look at is air quality, air purification. Types of things as part of where are we at with those in our schools, and what should we be considering in future capital projects as well.
Okay, do we have a plan put in place for our teachers and our students who are going to be in some of those extremely hot classroom environments, maybe in the next month? I mean, if we're not allowed to use fans to circulate air, are we going to allow them maybe to take their classes outside, which could then give them mask breaks as well as not being in those environments? What's our plan?
Yeah, we will. We always look at those things where we can get them outside, move them around, go to different spaces in the building if we needed to. I think the other things that, so those are the main things that we do. We're making sure that we're opening up the rooms very early in the morning to get all the cool air, in. We often open them up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, pull fresh air into the buildings, things like that. And we're going to build in our mask breaks. We're going to be doing more work with that. There was some guidance that we talked about that we want to make sure that because there was some question out there, where they consistently be done all the classrooms, so we want to make that more uniform and providing that guidance. So that's one of the things that my team has been talking about. So we need to make sure that that's part of the docket for our meeting tomorrow, just to make sure we come back around to that. I'll put it in here right now for that too, for tomorrow. We have our normal Wednesday meeting tomorrow, so.
Okay, yeah,
Yep, good questions.
I know seeing some of the hot rooms when I used to work in the district, I
Yep.
just really am concerned. Definitely in the next month, we can get some seriously hot days in
Right.
September. So just want to make sure that the kids get a break.
Yep.
I also listened to that myself, and don't we have air purifiers here in our school?
No, we do not have a high,
used to.
we have a
Lots
few,
of
but
them.
we don't have a lot, not to my knowledge. We have a
Okay.
few, well, a few.
We have, don't we have our air passing through?
Like an air exchange?
Yeah, I mean, we have air handlers and air exchangers, but I thought you might be talking about like classroom
Right.
air
We have
purifiers.
individual air purifiers for at-risk rooms.
In the at-risk, yes, and we have a lot of air conditioners in at-risk rooms or rooms that are housing students that may have a medical condition. So for example, if we receive a medical in, we will put that air conditioner in there if it's a doctor saying something. Oftentimes our 1214s definitely do. You'll see that if you walk around any of the buildings. When we're walking around later this week, take a good look when we're at Lanigan, Volney. You'll see at Granby. You'll see a lot of listen to
Window,
me,
yeah.
window air conditioners available in those classrooms. You'll actually see that as well. And we changed the filters in those as well,
Okay.
is my understanding. And
I
we're
just
also
know
going to
we used
focus
to
on our,
have them.
yep, we're also going to focus on our cleaning for health. That's something that we've always done here in
We've done
Fulton.
that for many years.
And we'll do that too. So we're continuing that as well. So that kind of goes along with that. That's making sure that we're on our maintenance schedules and all of those pieces as well.
Thank you very much. And one last thing, I just want to wish Reagan a really wonderful senior year. Good luck to you and all your fellow students.
Jess?
Okay, so again, yes, thank you to the parents who came out and voiced their concern. I think that it's really good for them to be heard and community members to be heard. And I had really good feedback today. I had a parent reach out about a student that was coming and transferring into the district. They were a little bit concerned about placement. They had some issues with their last school district. They were concerned that the administrators weren't really listening to their concerns. And this morning she had reached back out to me and she said, we were heard, we, made progress, and we're really looking forward to our kid, coming into the district. So that was really good. How did the Stuff a Bus program go today?
So the feedback I got was that we didn't hit the numbers that we have in the past.
Oh,
So
that
one of the things we had in the 60s, I received a text and we did do a blast out. We're trying to figure out why it didn't get more publicized. We knew we put it out a few weeks ago, but again, there probably should have been more blasts. So we did do a blast and it did pick up significantly, but it didn't hit the numbers. And one of the benchmarks we used was a couple years ago when we did the haircuts and all the different kinds of things and the clothing and there was just so many things. I believe, and I don't know I believe the number then was over 400. I'd have to confirm that with the teachers union that works on. They are absolutely amazing, and I'm sure they were frustrated that they didn't get the numbers that we traditionally get today. But the blast, I talked to a number of families. I happened to be over there. Talked to a number of families out in the parking lot soon after we did the blast, and they were so grateful and so pleased, and they had forgotten, they knew about it, but they had forgotten that it happened. So the blast reminded them. Unfortunately, it was around 11 o'clock this morning when they received that, but I'm so grateful to our teachers that spear that and do such a great job providing that opportunity for our families.
Yeah, well, that's good. Yeah, I got the robocall and I was like, oh, shoot, I didn't, And then one last thing, I just wanted to bring up a concern, and I know that it's nothing that can be changed this year, and I'm sure there are lots of reasons for this happening, but I'm not sure if it's with all of the elementary schools or just Volney in particular, but the pre-K or the kindergarten, the bus orientation and the actual kindergarten orientation are on 2 different days. And I think I'm wondering if there's any way that we could work that so that we could do it on the same day so that parents aren't having to take off multiple days. I think that kindergarten's pretty important time for kids to need, a parent around for getting on the bus or, going to school in general. So just something to consider in the future.
All right.
But other than that, good luck to the teachers going back, our students going back, and looking really forward to having a good year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lynn?
Well, I also wanted to say thank you for everybody that spoke today. I know everybody has concerns one way or another about mask wearing. I guess I just wanted to say that personally speaking, I have grandchildren in Florida school. The other day, 22 teachers were out, which meant they tested positive, which meant those classes could not be operated.
There we go.
Start again.
Well,
Thank you,
everything
Mrs.
all over
Perry.
again.
Yeah, I think it's, yep.
Um, I was talking about the mask wearing, and I'm thankful for everyone that showed up tonight to voice their opinion on it. And I too have a feeling on it. I have grandchildren in the Florida school district who are losing out right now because people are testing positive. 22 teachers are taken out because they are positive, so they can't go in the classroom. So those classes cannot be taught because they don't have people to fill in. 5 fifth grade classes are all in quarantine. I just want to commend our school district for all the work they did last year to ensure the fact things like this didn't happen and our kids got to go to school. So thank you for that. I too wondered about the mask breaks. That was on my question, and you're going to discuss that tomorrow, apparently.
Yep, we need to finalize our process to make sure we update that.
And I wondered, is there a way to find out how many people listen to us at these board meetings virtually?
Right now, we're like 3.
Thank you. I just,
It's not a hard number, you know, people come in and out.
okay. And thank you, everybody. I'm done.
Thank you. Reagan?
I as well would like to thank all the community members.
Reagan, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, thank you.
I would also like to thank all the community members for coming out and sharing their opinions. I actually have a question for Mr. Palvino. It's regarding the reopening update. So say a child gets quarantined, how will they continue to participate in class and learn if there's no option virtually?
So right, that's a great question, Reagan. What we're doing for the quarantines, we're in the process of really looking at a couple of different possibilities that we're working with our different bargaining units and things like that. Obviously there are things that could include, virtually coming into the class could be a possibility. Again, we're exploring that type of thing. There is another district that I know is doing tutoring after hours online, with teachers, that type of thing. So there are a couple different things that we're looking at. Obviously, my goal is I hope we have no quarantines. But obviously, I have to be realistic, seeing as Ms. Lyons had indicated. I watch very closely nationally as well. And there are spots where there's quite a bit of quarantining going on, and we're not in school yet. And I did allude to, during my report tonight, we have some staff right now that are quarantined that's impacting. So it's a great question. There'll be more coming out. We're still trying to work through that. I'm hoping that one of the pieces of guidance that I'm hoping does match the CDC is the CDC's guidance on quarantining is actually less stringent than the New York State current guidance, which was never adjusted. So I'm hoping that's an adjustment which will help us as well, Reagan. So it's a great question. Thank you.
Thank you. And I guess I have one comment, and that comment is I am very excited to be going back to school. So thank you.
All right. Tim? Can you turn on your mic, Tim? Thank you.
They can't hear you out in the world if you're not talking into it. That's why. Okay.
Just want to thank everyone for coming. Good to see Jeff. Hope you're ready. I figured you were. School looks great over at Lanigan. I'm glad they cleaned up that area around the trees. That looks a lot better. Less maintenance. All the other schools look great. Stopped over at the junior high tonight. Drove around. But yeah, they're getting there.
There's a lot of work going on.
Yeah.
Still got a ways to go.
Yep.
And that's about it.
No one can hear you. You're not speaking into your mic.
Talking that way. But that's it.
Thank you. And Jen?
I too would like to thank all the parents and community members that came out and spoke tonight. I really feel like the more involvement that we have, the more informed everybody is going to be with correct information. And Lynn, you asked a great question, how many people are watching? And about 30. So if we can just work together, get more people here, get more people watching, so everybody is on the same page, and everybody realizes that we are here ultimately for the kids. We want what's best for the kids. We want to see them, involved in everything that is possible. We're not here to limit what they can do. The mask thing is hard, but we can't control that. And I think that some people are misinformed about that. We have to go by what the state is mandating. We can control what we can control. We can't control what they can control. But the more people that we have involved together with the same information, we can help problem solve and make a better situation for our kids. So I'm happy to see that there were more parents here tonight and community members, because I think that's going to help our kids in the long run, for sure. So I'm really excited to see that. I don't know who's, it's been here for a while, but I haven't said this. Whoever's responsible for that F with the flowers, with the Fulton F, I love that.
Isn't that nice?
What a great way to walk into the building and be welcomed. It just gives you such a great feeling walking inside a beautiful building that we're working so hard on. So whoever did that, that's just great. And of course, me being me, sports are in full effect. That was really great to see. All right, we have the kids working hard. They're setting the precedent. Like right now, they're together, they're working hard, creating a culture and pride entering our new school year. So that was really exciting to see. So
That's part of our competition for people being here, you know.
So I'm thankful for that. Good things are ahead, for sure.
Very
Thank you.
good. Thank you. But I mean that, as I drove in tonight, it's seeing the kids out and how active they are. And yes, we compete. That's part of what we compete for our audience is our audience, a lot of potential audience members are very busy with our students and other activities outside of school, so, which is also a very good thing.
Yep.
People are pulled in a lot of directions when they're parenting.
Yep.
I'm grateful that people came tonight to speak to us, but I'm really grateful that they did so, again, with civility. I've watched around the state, and it's not been that way in other places. So I am really proud and grateful this evening that we were able to have and listen to and have a discourse. And people can have different opinions, and that's okay. So that was heartening for me this evening. And especially because we have Reagan down here, and I want her to see that we adults know how to conduct ourselves in a civil manner. I don't really have anything else at this point other than to add to Mr. Polvino's comments with regard to the capital project and the Siemens project, the energy performance. There is a lot going on. A lot of good improvements that are not only going to help us save money, but create safer environments for our kids. Safer environments just getting in and out of buildings, getting in and out of parking lots, safer for the parents. And again, always looking, I'm thank you, Brenda and Lynn, for bringing up the air quality question. That's a long-standing issue in this district. And it is something that we've had our eye on, but we should always keep our eye on. And I, too, would echo the concern about what are we going to do on the hottest days. I have been in classrooms, and I have to admit, I'm amazed how the kids and the staff keep on going in some very uncomfortable situations. So if there are things that we can do to improve, especially the air quality on those hot, humid days, I would be most grateful that we pay heed to that. Okay, so now we have our second public forum. So anyone in the audience that would like to address the board on a topic germane to tonight's agenda, now is the moment. And the audience of two, no one's jumping. All right, I'll move on then to item 7.03, please. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed and abstentions? Passed 600. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we're going to enter into executive session. We will come out of executive session back to public session, and at that time, we will close the meeting. You're welcome to rejoin us when we return to public session. For those of you that are viewing, we thank you for taking the time to join us this evening. We hope you come back. We're back in session. Would someone please move item 7.04?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed and abstentions? Pass. Are you messing with me, Mr. Crandall? Okay, would you change that for the public's benefit? Yeah, you're a yes. Pass 600. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.